Okay, so as many have requested a tutorial on how to recreate a CSV upload feature within a Softr app using the vibe coding block, we'll be rebuilding this step by step for an app that allows to upload a CSV of all your contacts into your database. So we'll get started with Softr databases to create a new app, which will create this empty app. And right here, I'll just hit create new database. So we have database to get started with. And in the studio, we see that we have this new database, and I can just go in here and maybe use the AI co-builder to basically say, okay, I need a table with first name, last name, email, LinkedIn URL, and job title. So we have our table now. I'll just ask for dummy data. Can you add 6 records of dummy data in here, please? Okay, that sounds good. This is the starting point for our database, and basically we'll be building an interface to add records to this database. So we could add more fields like the industry or add a table for companies and link them together. Right now we'll start small. I'll just rename this database. So going back to our app, I'll just rename it in the same way. Okay, so this is our app, and we could convert this block into actually a table block to basically display the contacts that we have. And we're just missing the email right here, like that, and name that our contacts. And from there, we could, of course, have a button to allow to add a contact, but that would be one by one. So you fill in the details of one contact, you hit create, and it adds one row. What we'll build now is the capacity to actually bulk upload new contacts. For example, for your sales reps, after they attended an event and they want to add all their contacts to your CRM, they would need a way to do so. Let's remove this one for now. And basically, the only thing we'll need is to use a vibe coding block. And I like to introduce it that way. For everything that you cannot do with Softr's native blocks, so a form, a grid, table, inbox, calendar, etc. So Softr provides out of the box all the blocks that you need to build business apps. But whenever you need something extra custom that has a specific behavior or needs to look in a different way, you can also use this vibe coding block to actually describe what you want, and the AI will be building this block for you. So it's not coding a full app from scratch, but it's actually coding a specific block that also natively connects to your data source in a secure way, so you can interact with your data. And the design of this block will actually match the theme of your app. Let's say we go for another accent color, let's say yellow this time. Now we'll be asking for something and it will respect that design. So first of all, I'll be connecting this to my data source. And in our database, I'll be picking this contacts table. No conditional filter for now, because what we'll do is actually to ask for an interface that allows us to bulk import contacts through a CSV. So I'll be giving as many details as I can to make sure that the AI understands exactly my intents. Okay, so I need a block that allows me to drag and drop a CSV that I have with many contacts so that we can then bulk create these contacts in the database that we have connected. So when we'll drag and drop the CSV in there, we need to then display a way to map the columns from my CSV with the columns of the database. So we need a very nice and intuitive interface where we can map those, but also decide if we skip one of the columns or not. And we need also to make sure that we can only map to the destination columns once to avoid any conflict. And we need also a visual way to present the way this mapping works. And once we're done with the mapping, we would go then to next page that would actually list all the records that we had in our CSV. And then one by one, we can either click to actually create them, so click a sort of checkbox, or click a button to cancel that row. And we would also have an option at the top to import all of them, but removing the ones that we have already rejected. Okay, so I gave a lot of instructions here to be very clear. In the end, it's just 3 paragraphs, and you can use a transcriber tool like Edit to make sure that you are perfectly clear. Okay, I really like that we can understand what happens. So I asked for CSV upload, that's one thing, but then mapping the columns, as you know, your sales team will probably have a CSV for which the column names don't exactly match what you have in your database. And we want to anticipate that and make it easier to import by providing this column mapping feature. That's also very common in CRMs. And for step 3, I wanted to bring another layer of granularity where Maybe we have, let's say, 3, 4 contacts in this CSV that we actually don't want to import, and we probably don't want to open our CSV somewhere, delete these records, and then put it back. So the last one is to decide which records actually gets created. Again, you can see that our theme has been perfectly applied. And from there, we can just give it a try and hit preview to actually try it out. So I had prepared a CSV right here, and I can see that I can drop it in there. I love that it's actually thought about showing previews of values. So we have our CSV column here, last name, email, etc. And we have a preview of 3 values, which really help us understand what was in there so we can map it in the destination. So right here. Now, something that I noticed right now that could be interesting to improve is to actually tell our blog to actually automap the columns that have the exact same name, or in that case, they're just an upper letter that's different. So we could ask for a fuzzy matching to suggest a V1 of this mapping that could be an evolution of our blog. Now, I love how this is being mapped. If we look at here, we cannot use first name because it's already in use. As we requested, we can also skip a column. Maybe your CSV has too many, and actually in your database, you only need a few data points. In our case, I think we'll map all of them: email, LinkedIn, and company name, job title. Okay, that was a mismatch like when I created this CSV, and we don't have the job title, but I think it's fine. We can then hit continue to review, and this is the last step. And okay, so right now, yeah, when I mentioned checkbox, actually it wasn't very clear. What I had in mind is that you actually manually hit a button here that will directly create that record, but actually this is a pretty smart way. So let's say 3 of them will not make it, so 12 out of 15, and we import. Oh, I like that. Okay. Now, if I look at my table again, I see that I have multiple pages. Initially, we had only created 6 records of dummy data. So it really shows that our, 12 records got added right here. So from there, what could we improve? I mean, it's perfectly functional. Maybe just this fuzzy matching for the columns. We can go ahead in here and ask for that. Okay, so for the column mapping, maybe you could try to pre-match columns based on fuzzy names so you can recognize when the column names seem to match. If not, then it's perfectly fine and you can skip, but that might help us save some time in the second step. I hit send and the AI will work on the existing code that we can actually okay, so we already got our V2. As you can see, we can still access the V1. And if you are familiar with coding, you will see that this is React code that you could, if you want, manually edit and then save your own version. And whenever you make a change and you actually want to go back to the previous stage, you can simply restore that version. Now in the actions right here, you can see that it's allowed to add a record. And this part is the visibility settings to, for example, say that only logged in users should be able to see that blog. Right now, we didn't work on the user system of this app because we're focusing on just looking into how that feature works. But of course, in Softr, you would go here into your user setting, maybe sync them with a table of your database, create user groups, permissions, etc. So now that we have our V2, and it got confirmed what's new, what I recommend is, again, to go in there and try this out. So I still have the same CSV that we can drop in there. And it seems like all the fields that we could map got already pre-mapped with this fuzzy matching, and we would be already good to go. So I think that's exactly what we wanted. Now we can just maybe polish a bit our interface and build on top of that. This is something brand new in Softr and only 1, maybe 2 prompts away via the vibe coding block. So what could be interesting in here is, again, to add some no-code components because we don't have to reinvent them. I really like to use tab containers, and we'll have 1 tab for all contacts and 1 for uploading our CSV. And we'll just take this block and push it inside our container, and this one as well. So now if we preview our app, we have this very modern and intuitive layout to manage our contacts, eventually add one manually here, but if you have a list, you go in there and upload your CSV. Okay, that was it for this tutorial. This can of course apply not only to contacts in a database, but to any table that you have, maybe uploading projects or tasks or anything. You just have to add a vibe coding block that you connect to this table, and you then describe exactly the behavior, the different steps, maybe a couple iterations, and your business app is good to go.